Fear Not, Episode 108. Hi, I'm Billy Atwell, and I believe that consistently facing your fears is the only way to realize your truest self and to make those confident choices that will help you to obtain your deepest held hopes and dreams. I have faith that this podcast series will show you that you are not alone, that it will strengthen you and give you courage to face your fears, and that it will help you to permanently cross over into a life of living beyond your fears. Join me on this journey as we listen and learn from others as they share their experiences in facing and overcoming their own fears. Hello, everybody. Today, you and I are going to be joined by kgienger. Hi, Kylan. How are you today?
Good, Billy. Glad to be on the show.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Are you ready to fear not today?
Absolutely, always.
Kylan has founded and co-founded multiple business in the construction, fitness, food service, real estate, and online education industries since 2013. He's also the creator and host of Successful Dropout, a podcast about how to drop out, grind and succeed in business and in life without a college degree. Kylan, can you take a few extra moments to fill in those gaps and maybe also give us a brief glimpse of your personal life?
Absolutely, man. We were just talking before we started the interview here. We just recently moved from the city to the mountains. And when I say we, I mean my wife and I. We're going on about 6.5 years now. No kids yet. I am in denial about whether or not, about the fact that we'll probably have kids, I guess you could say, but not ready yet, anyways. Um, we have a few businesses back in town that we commute to work out a couple days out of the week. Other than that, we're enjoying living in the mountains now. We have a dog named Sif, and yeah, that's what I can think of for now.
Would you also share with us today one of the biggest fears that you've had to face?
Oh yeah, so Billy, actually, this is a great time to have me on the show because I'm actually going skydiving day after tomorrow. And I've never been skydiving before, and it's a special kind. We paid a little bit extra. It's myself and three other buddies that are going, and we paid extra to actually go solo diving for our solo skydiving for our first time. So, typically you're tandem jumping. There's somebody on your back, and so this time we're going through like a 4-hour class to where apparently what we're going to do is hang off the wing of the airplane, and then we let go and we're by ourselves, and the instructor basically throws our chute out after us, and it pretty much opens right away. But still, it's all in an effort to, once we do a few of these kinds of jumps, it sounds like, then we can actually go up to a higher like 12,000 feet, and jump and kind of free fall a little bit more. So um, so yeah, I guess that's a great example of something I'm about to do here. That even just talking about it gets me a little bit, gives you those butterflies in your stomach, And it is a fear of mine because I'm honestly I'm not a great fan of heights. I I've had a lot of opportunities to do like a lot of cliff jumping and stuff like that, and I always jump, but it's I feel like it's always a little bit more of a struggle for me to get up there and take the leap than some of my friends that are usually jumping off with me. They enjoy the adrenaline rush a little bit more than I do, I think. So knowing that this was something I was afraid of, when my buddy said, "Hey, should we go? Let's go jump out of a perfectly good airplane by ourselves." Actually, I said, "Well, I'm. It scares me to death. So yeah, let's do it, and I have to overcome that fear." And then Billy, besides that, I think it would just be we've started multiple businesses, and we still have multiple businesses that are running. My wife and I and some of our business partners, and each one of those ventures was starting those was a big fear. I mean, it's very scary to put a lot of time and money into something when you don't know how the public is going to receive it. Are you going to get ridiculed? Are they going to make fun of you? Is it just going to be a big failure? And so I would say each one of our businesses, starting those, was also a kind of a foray into something that I feared most.
So, what do you do when fear presents itself to you every time?
Honestly, I mean, it's simple and cliche, and it's probably been said on the show before, but I just keep pushing towards it. Um, but there's a little more to it than just just doing it and push and doing it anyways. Um, there's a mentality that I had to develop, and that I would encourage the listeners on your show to develop about fear, and that is that when you look back on your life, 9 times out of 10, all the things that all the things, all the really meaningful things that happened in your life started out as probably something that you were a little bit scared of, or a little bit unsure of, or maybe somewhat of a risk. So many great and meaningful things in life come to you because you took a step and took a leap of faith and kind of just did it in spite of fear. And so you have to learn to operate with this belief that you use fear as like a barometer, um, to measure if you're operating in like the extraordinary or not. So, at any time, if I wake up in the morning and it's like today, on my to-do list, I've got, this thing and this thing and this task, and I'm really scared about those, I can rest assured in the knowledge that I'm probably moving towards becoming the best version of myself. And I'm using that feeling of fear as kind of a barometer, actually more like a compass, to gauge if I'm heading in the right direction. You know, Fear is a form of resistance. When you feel fear, you feel resistance in doing whatever it is you're about to do or you're thinking of doing. And resistance is like a compass that like always points to true north. At any point in your life, if you're feeling confused about what you need to do, and you want to be something more, to build something bigger than yourself, all you have to do is look at this compass of resistance and look where that needle points, and wherever it's pointing, it's going to be pointing in the direction of most resistance and what you fear most, and that's probably 9 times out of 10 what you should walk towards, if that kind of makes sense.
Perfectly. Kylon, you clearly have a strong foundational understanding of fear and how to handle it. Would you mind sharing some of the resources that you've come across that has helped you to establish your point of view?
Yeah, so like for instance, the concept I just talked about using fear as a barometer, resistance as a compass, that concept kind of came out of a book called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. It's one of my favorite books, and I would highly encourage anybody who's struggling with fear and resistance in general to read that book. It's kind of in the first few chapters, so it's right in the beginning, and that really helped, actually. It helped me take a lot of life experiences that I've had and shape those into kind of a belief system, which is what I just shared with you. And that's actually happened just recently, because throughout my whole life, there's kind of this innate knowledge, like, okay, the thing that is hardest to do right now is probably the thing that I should do. And so I've just always done that, despite the fear, and it's always turned out great. And so having done that a few times, I just know, like, oh, I'm afraid to do this. Okay, I should probably do it. Dang it, okay, let's just get it done. And it's always amazing. And then reading that book and that first portion of the book really helped me put that all those experiences into like this belief system that I just shared.
Are you ready for the speed run?
Always ready.
What individual, whether they're fiction or real, has made the most impact on your life?
Ooh, yeah. I listened to a couple of your episodes, and I heard this question, and I was trying to think, and I want to say right off the bat, family members, but I feel like that's too cliche. Who I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say Isaac Morehouse. I don't know if you've heard of him. I don't, he's not really well known yet, but he's the founder of a company called Praxis at discoverpraxis.com, and really a big inspiration for what I do currently on my podcast, Successful Dropout, and just kind of this whole purpose that I found in my life helping people succeed in business and in life without a college degree, and just talking to people about that. Um, so he's has a similar background as I do, homeschooled, and he's not. I'm always amazed at how outside of the box he thinks, and because he kind of grew up outside of a lot of these societal norms and not being too institutionalized, a lot of his thoughts and what he does is really original, and he's building this company which is just completely changing the face of college and how students kind of enter the workforce. And so he's been a major inspiration, and somebody who has definitely overcome a lot of fears, um, and just barriers because of how kind of differently he operates and thinks.
If you could instantly change one thing in the world, what would you change?
Oh, you're kind of noticing a theme here, but it's what I'm all about. I would change the way our education system works, complete reform. Of course, that's not actually practical if we're talking, practically, which is why I believe in, instead of protesting something by trying to tear it down or reform it, protest something by building something else. And so that's what we're doing. But man, I just think in this day and age, the current system we have is is not a good one for the majority of people now. And so that is something I would change, is how we teach, and the experiences we give, kids and students as they're coming up through high school and college, because that's such a formative those are such formative years and really determines the course of their life. And I really think we need to instill more of an entrepreneurial mindset in our students, so when they get out, they build and create more and just solve more problems and make the world a better place. And I don't think the current formal education system helps with that as much as it could.
What's your biggest weakness?
I think too much. Um, yeah, that's about it. If I'm not careful, I can think and overanalyze something to death and just not take action on it.
What's your biggest strength?
Biggest strength is probably on the flip side of my weakness. I mean, my biggest strength is really planning and execution. So if somebody comes to me and says, Kylan, I have this vision for this kind of business, or I want to do this, it's very, very easy for me to lay out a plan, think of all the things that they need to do, all the different components, how they fit together, and lay out kind of a plan of action, and then start to execute that very systematically and methodically, step by step. That's kind of my strength.
If you could only have one book to read, what book would that be?
Oh, easy one. Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. It's a new one, but it's basically it's kind of like the Bible. You don't just read it start to finish. You jump around and read kind of, and every day something new jumps out at you. But that is the one book I would have. I would highly suggest that book for anybody who's listening.
Do you have a favorite sound?
Oh, yeah. I can't get too descriptive because I don't know what kind of bird it is, but we live up in the mountains, and now that it's becoming spring, the birds are starting to sing again. And I grew up in the mountains, and so hearing these birds just brings back all of these nostalgic memories, and it's just such a peaceful place for me. It's really a retreat. And there's one particular bird, and it's got kind of this long, really long, drawn out whistle that just kind of echoes through the woods and the mountains. And I don't know what kind of bird it is, but that is probably my favorite sound. Every once in a while, that'll pierce the air, and it's just like, oh, yes.
And Kylan, if someone would like to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Head over to successfuldropout.com. There's multiple ways to get a hold of me, and I'm at Kylan Kgienger just about everywhere.
And what parting advice would you like to leave with us today?
Parting advice I would like to leave with you guys is, it's one of my favorite quotes, by, I think Tony Robbins was the first one to say it, and he says, "Life is always happening for us, not to us." Um, and that's kind of been my mantra, if you will, for this year. Life is always happening for us, not to us. And it's this extreme ownership mindset where at any given point, you're in charge of how you feel and what you do with what you're given and your current situation and your destiny. And so things just aren't happening to you. You're not just reacting to them. You can choose to see the positive in everything and to make it work, to your advantage. So it's just a really good core belief to have.
Indeed. And thank you so much for sharing that. And Kylan, I want to thank you too for coming on the show today and spending some time with us talking about your fear and what you do to get over it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me today. And remember, you cannot achieve everything, but you do have the God-given ability to achieve anything. So stay focused, out of fear, and keep on keeping on. Until next time, be well and peaceful. For more information on today's episode and guest, or for resources that will assist you in overcoming your fears, visit livingbeyondyourfears.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, where 3 times a week we move to a life beyond our fears.